Attention gamers. This toxic pissing festival known as League of Legends is a lot like life in that it requires balance. You can only eat so many Taco Bell Crunch Wrap Supremes before your anus turns into lava. You can only have so many bottles of baby oil in your celebrity sex ring dungeon at home until you go to jail, and you can only look at so many boobies on Reddit before some neuroscientist tells you your dopamine receptors have reached degenerate levels.
Pursuing that activity far too often.
And when it comes to League of Legos, we know that Uncle Rito has stated in the past that they look for things with high win rates and then nerf them to achieve this mythical concept of balance, which is why I have been brain-bafflingly perplexed at how one of the highest win rate bot laners since Vietnam is Swain, which I'm assuming is because his pick rate is lower than your standard molding marksman, and even though Rito Ora knows it's a problem, it doesn't affect enough people to fix, aka utilitarianism laziness, which has been made worse by the current items that synergize with Swain like Jizz synergizes with an egg. So today we will be taking the approach of if you can't beat them, join them to see if the raw power of this amputee grandpa is enough to hold your own in fights after your support dies. Or approach an ADC and proceed to miss 110% of your abilities while still keeping her locked down and ultimately dead to test if a casual player can pop off on him, and spoiler, they can. And then we will see how playing this champ works when you have one of those autofilled supports whose brain cells haven't quite loaded into the game to see if it can pass the solo queue test to show Riot that to keep balance, there comes a time when certain things need to be retired, like an item in my real life that was near and dear to my heart as it breathed its last breath. The break from the buzz into this silence could only mean one thing. It has served me and my pubes well for all these years, giving me that Ryan Reynolds from Deadpool 5 o'clock shadow I dreamed of. Ignoring the owner's manual and shaving my gooch hairs with it is a memory I'll never forget. But like a 54% win rate Swain, it was time for this good thing to be retired. Because there's a new sheriff in town. Introducing the Chairman Pro, the latest and greatest in making men look marvelous by Manscaped, featuring the star of the show, mass murderer of facial hair, the electric foil shaver with a 360-degree contouring head that lets it ride the grooves of your neck and cheeks like a 97 Camaro on some local backroads. It comes with two blades, one for that close baby's bottom smooth shave for the ladies that have a little boy complex, and then the stubble trimmer if ladies want that trouble when they see a bit of stubble. It's all scientifically crafted to reduce razor burn, and bonus tip, it's waterproof so you can go shower shaving without risk of dying. The package also comes with Power Shave Gel, which makes your skin more lubed up than anything you'd find at P. Diddy's house, not to mention the Shave Soother, which is the #1 aftershave in the universe according to me. So retire your old shavers. Use my link below for 20% off your package and free international shipping today, and let's go from shaving back to swaining. Alright, so game 1, I'm rocking a mango flavored Lulu as my support against Cyberpunk 77 Kaisa and some guy who thinks Rel is good because he sees her played in pro play, and every time I see the cosmic bowling alley whore look at a low health minion, I extend a large red handshake to bring her towards me for a better view. This somehow sparks some political argument about if dogs are actually being eaten in Ohio or not, and all I knew was that I had one of those self-driving Ouija board dolls coming down to steal my kill, so I had to make sure the Rel passed away before that could happen. But a minute later, as I was doing that thing where you push slow and then push fast as if you are trying to take a fat shit because of macro or something, I was met with a well choreographed surprise when my support was taking a call. I popped my bullshit button, which despite not doing a lot of damage at this rank had these PTSD piggies opting to not kill me because they didn't want to stay in the suck off zone, which gave me enough space for Glitter Tits to come back and assist me. I was pissed off, plus I figured if I had already forgot that I could re-push my ult to orgasm for some burst, then these idiots definitely forgot too, and I could use that to bait this into a winning fight. And I suppose my dumbass turning a fight like this without wasting any summoners isn't something most meta marksmen could do, and I was feeling good about the Southern Swain strategy. Then I was thinking I would hit up a bit of Farm Simulator, throw the bathtubs and bikinis section of Twitch up on a second monitor and miss some last hits as I sip my Viagra laced coffee, but then a Briar FOMO rocket came in and I had to zip up my pants and head to battle. I want to admit early in this video that I quickly learned my toxic trait as Swain is holding the recast of my ult for a point when I feel like it could steal me kills, which did make for some sloppy close calls where Gothic autopilot Annie had to die under tower for our sins. But you would have also thought this Nocturne had self-driving on too by the way he just walked at me begging to go back to base, and you know the theme of Silver, right? Concerned ADC players pay the price for dumb shit junglers, so her stepping back up was enough to teach her that lesson, and then afterwards I was saying that left a bad taste in my mouth and I could go for some dessert. Ah yes, a Pantheon would be the perfect palate cleanser, specifically one who thinks he can kill me without looking at his map enough to know that it's gonna be a full moon tonight, and that's when this geriatric raven breeder becomes unstoppable. The plan at this point is to tell that Clash Day Kaisa some fun facts about crustaceans, but she would rather die as fast as she can before I can tell her that shrimp store their shit in their own heads, and then as I join up with the gang who wasn't completing their part of the group assignment, I do an absolutely fantastic job of ignoring the voices in my head telling me to ult, because I guess I want the world to know that I have some mercy for support players. But I guess the other perk of playing Mr. Evermore is that when you like to save your ult and damage for a rainy day, you can still deliver a gross amount of CC with just one ability, which is a great facilitator in gangbangs. Then I was getting ready to hit the Ole Ram for the rest of the game like I have been trained to do by years of being stuck in the same elo, when I noticed a green dot chasing a red dot, so I went over hoping to film a viral TikTok, but nope, it was just Rel sucking off a Mordekaiser in another dimension. Looks like I'll never compete with the untalented sets of tits on that site. Side note, I'd like to apologize to the people mad in the comments about my Manscaped ad being so long today. The truth is I actually had fun filming and editing it, which should probably say something about the staleness of League, but for those of you complaining instead of just skipping forward in the video, this is for you. And also this. Anyways, we get word that there's white meat on the menu at McDragon's, and while some of us are apparently more excited about that than others, I eventually join the fight, where I learn that with a Ryalize my complex combo as a Swain is to push my ult and then exist, and if I do it well enough this will happen. At one point I thought I was having a dream where the bot laners, who were about as useful as Helen Keller's iPod, had migrated top, but they were just as dumb as before and both one shot, and it turns out it was a dream, it was real, and so was the boner I was rocking, so even though there was a vegan there too, it didn't spoil how good of a time I had there. And normally I am accustomed to playing like Jinx or Caitlyn, where if you walk up at all you just get pegged like a whack-a-mole from a hammer with a strap on, but I was today years old when I learned that Swain has permanent health scaling on his passive, so let's just say bloody Hurricane Swain wasn't afraid to ruffle a few feathers, which kept the blonde riding that deflated elephant at bay long enough for Wednesday Addams to jump a wall and shank her. Unfortunately you can't just marinate under a tier 2 turret, so she did pass away, but I want you to put yourself in this Kaisa's shoes and know that being on the losing team in League of Legends is fun 0% of the time ever, and that's why a game named Supervive is one day going to take over, mark my word. I made an arrangement with my Diana where she would agree to land an incredibly sexy 3-man ult and I could float around accepting blood transfers from any of these soon-to-be corpses who marked organ donor on their license. It was a profitable business, which long story short ended in me chasing a Venus flytrap into lane where I Donnie J grabbed her by the pussy and push a bunch of buttons until Rift Alexa called me that word. Now Malignance makes it so my ult was practically up before the enemy team could spell /surrender, but when I saw the Sky trying to shit out a Spartan I had to quickly rearrange my bags so that Sonya's was on a keybind I would remember to use, because I just knew I would be float sucking off the local civilians for a while until eventually I would have to push my get out of jail free card, and on my very first game I felt the power of a pick that's been winning more than every other pick for eons in the bot lane. But as promised, I wanted to show you if this is still strong when your support is one of those autofilled humans who are destined to go through life pushing doors that say pull. You see, our first skirmish was actually fine. I was the one being over aggressive and picking a dumb fight, and the gem slut complimented me to perfection. There was a bit of asshole puckering towards the end, and I would have died 10 out of 10 times if Jin didn't desk pop a hoodlum hashtag. I did that once and it earned me 1 million views, but remember just last game when I said the concerned ADC always dies for the sins of her idiot teammates? Well, I was the concerned ADC here, watching Tarek over there playing tic-tac-toe with a murderer, so while I should have just let him die, my dumbass walked up and offered Jin a BOGO deal on homicides instead. It was at this point where I vowed to play for myself and to not get baited by a moron, so a few minutes later, when both he and me were way lower health than the enemy and he pinged that he would be asking them for directions back to base, I thought about intervening but then had to just let that dog be put down, and to make matters worse, at one point I panned mid to see if my Yone was a good player. He was always playing from a position where he was practically trying to deny himself XP, which is probably why he was still a 5, but I did show my support when he landed stuns, even if it would bait him into taking a fat fart under tower and welcoming Shen to our lane with open arms, which, if we were to fast forward a bit, also turned the color off on my screen too. The pattern continued where we would have a decent fight, but then he would reveal that his gas pedal was stuck stapled to the ground and he could only go one speed, and that speed was sped, and things were snowballing out of control as Jin ulted, and the first 3 shots were by no means a foreshadowing of the 4th. So if you were someone saying this is only good when you have the support gap or the better team, then here is the game for you. As you can see, even in the presence of these circumstances and me getting ganked when I was alone, I could turn on the AIDS Sucker 9000 as a defense mechanism, and no gay pride parade horse will want anything to do with me, but I'm warmed up and ready to dance, so at least one of these 2 shitters that was trying to pull a quick one over on me was gonna pay the price. I then continued this crazy comeback story by overextending and getting caught, only to switch on the hepatitis C float factory and admittedly get bailed out by the support to whom I flamed all game, and the synergy between shitheads pushing their ults at the same time was enough to turn the first team fight in our favor. At one point I catch everyone migrating top hoping to get lucky, and I'm thinking a party I wasn't invited to, I'm about to crash into that like Jack Doherty crashes into guardrails on the highway, and like him ignoring his bleeding cameraman, I could care less who gets hurt as long as the content is good and I get paid at the end of the day. Anyways, this is around gold MMR, so we are all casually just setting up for the dragon spawning in 2.5 minutes, which means it's Lux o'clock somewhere as my support ults when absolutely no one is at risk of going under 90% HP on our team, but hey, it put a couple of G's in my pocket, so I was happy. A big fight breaks out and I'm thinking this is easily a 4-man festival of bloodsuck pending. But it's cool because with Riot, if I get in range of anyone, it's like a death sentence for them, and if you stick around long enough you'll get to witness another fantastic contribution from the man, the myth, the legend himself. Now if you remember, this Jin was more fed than Nick Avocado before he was 2 steps ahead of us, but that doesn't seem to matter with how oppressive Hurricane Herpes is to be stuck inside, and even though he was on the outskirts, his banging blonde internet GF got caught right in the radius and there's no escaping that. Anyways, their jungler was conditioned to believe that anyone playing in the bot role in this game is a walking ATM by the 30-minute mark, and while he thought his plan was going well, I was just waiting to toggle on Sucksville, slow him down and yank him back in the presence of the Sierra Mist Zone Grim Reaper to teach him a lesson, which was that we were going to kill a large toothy boner worm in river when he was dead, and then use its powers to stomp straight into their base and win a game that was looking hopeless early. Thanks again for watching my long Manscaped ad. If you look hard enough, there are face reveals in the reflections of the shaver because I was lazy in filming. Shave your stubble tonight. Rav out.